This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the MisFitNation. Yeah! In a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up, this is our song. Yeah, this is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misstep play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's Aubrey right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We're the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong. You belong. You belong. Alright,
Woo! All right, welcome back to the Misfit Nation, your Thursday after dinner show. We know you have other places you could be right now, but you choose to hang with us and ride Misfit Nation Airlines. So thank you for picking up those frequent flyer miles and being part of the Misfit Nation. Tonight, our hearts go out to Old Dominion University as they're victims of a terrorist attack today. One retired lieutenant colonel lost his life. Our ROTC student stepped up and took out the attacker. So kudos to him, and hopefully the 2 that were wounded are able to heal and go about their lives, have full lives after this horrible incident on campus in their classroom. If you're going through adversity, make sure that you ask for help and do not try to go things alone. Tonight on the Misfit Nation, We welcome Lisa Bradley. She is the CEO and co-founder of Riveter, a company built on a mission to support military spouses through meaningful employment. What started with a small group of artisans has grown into a nationally recognized lifestyle brand, reaching customers in all 50 states. Lisa has combined leadership, entrepreneurship, and service to create opportunities for military families across the country. Tonight, we'll dive into her journey, the leadership lessons behind the building of brand, mission-driven company, and how purpose and power real business can succeed. So without further ado, let's welcome Lisa Bradley to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, so happy to be here. Excited to tell our story. It's been 15 years of a lot of learning and giving back. So really excited to tell you guys about it.
Yeah, once I seen the name Riveter, I went right back to World War II. Of course, Rosa the Riveter. That's the first mind thing that goes into everyone's mind probably when they hear that. And I was like, I have to have you on the show. One, military spouse careers, and that fits right into our whole mindset here is helping veterans, helping the military spouses, and our first responders. So if you don't mind, Lisa, tell us a little bit about you from as far back as you want to go to how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town in Montana, and I didn't have a lot of military bases near me. My grandfather was in World War II, and I just remember those stories. He was a photographer on the USS South Dakota, and just the stories of the military and how proud my family was of his service. But then when I met my husband and quickly moved to follow him in his service, I didn't know what I was getting into as a military spouse. And it was very quick to learn that there's going to be a lot of moves, and it was really difficult to find something for myself as a military spouse. Constantly moving, a new community every time you move, and most of the time a new job. So it's very difficult to have that consistency. And really, I just felt like I was losing a little piece of my own identity every time I moved.
Definitely, and that's a burden on every spouse who comes into the game, I guess is a way to say it, off the bench of the military. It's not the easy thing. I mean, marriage is not easy in any realm. I don't want to put it out there like that, but the military spouse, the curve for success is a lot harder because of separation and then growing a family within there and then having that separation. That just makes everything exponentially harder on the military spouse. So it's really great that you're able to find focus and start something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that part of what we do in our river is really tell that story of the military spouse. I think that in the last 10 years, that story is being told more and more, but I really just remember becoming a young military spouse and being referred to as a dependent. That's a kind of a strange word to refer to family members. But really, move after move, I really did start to feel very dependent, and then I was really just referred to as from one degree off of someone else all the time. Captain Bradley's wife or so-and-so's mom. And so you just really felt like your own sense of purpose and identity is really being wiped away. And that was one of the reasons why when we landed in a small town in the North Georgia mountains, my co-founder and I, our husbands were training at the Mountain Phase Ranger School. So at that point, they weren't employed, but they were gone a lot of the time. And we said, instead of complaining about not being able to find income, let's create a business model that we can employ other military spouses. So this was way back in 2011. We didn't have a place to set up shop, so we found the only vacant location, which was in her attic, and we started sewing handbags. We knew that we wanted to have a product that could represent a story and be able to have the different parts and pieces to be able to send across the country, to be able to have military spouses take part in our distributed manufacturing line. But it really was all just from a problem that we knew we wanted to solve and just a small idea that was really launched in an attic. Wow.
That's usually how things happen, either attics or garages or closets.
Yeah, like any free space, kitchen tables. So
something's going on with your microphone, Lisa. It's coming like robotic almost.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what it is.
See if I can change that.
But I know like Amazon started in a garage. A lot of people start business in garages, and for you, an actual attic space that was, I guess, complete, hopefully comfortable, at least a little comfortable in an attic. as comfortable as an
Yeah.
attic can be.
Yeah. Is that better?
Oh, much better, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, actually it was an unfinished attic. We were in the North Georgia mountains, so it wasn't as cold as where I grew up in Montana, but oddly enough, the first $2,100 we put on a credit card was actually in pink insulation to cover like the bare walls. We learned real quickly that propane heating in the attic was not going to cut it. So that was one of our first expenditures. But then we knew we wanted to make handbags, and there was a pile of old Army equipment. It was actually issued Army equipment that we cut up and made into handbags. It was one of those old shelter halves, which is very symbolic. It takes two to make a full tent. So it was my co-founder and I that took on this idea of being able to kind of change the lives of military spouses. And so our first handbags were actually made out of these shelter halves. And we made 7 of them, went to a local market and sold those, and took the money from that and reinvested it and made 12, and just slowly grew the company handbag by handbag. So I think that people just really resonated with what we wanted to do, that we weren't just complaining about a problem, that we were taking action to fix it. And although the handbags were really awful back then, I look back at them and like, how did we ever sell a single one? I think it's about the idea and about the tenacity to say that you're going to try something new and put yourself out there. And I think that's what really resonated with our first customers back in 2011.
In the mountains of Georgia, LaMonica, Georgia, I'm guessing.
LaMonica, Georgia, of all places. Yeah.
I had a friend that he was stationed there as an RI in Mountain Phase 2. He was there twice, I guess, as a young staff sergeant and as a sergeant first class. So he got to go back and do it again. But he always spoke highly of that area. He loved it there. And then obviously it launched your business there. So that's awesome. And obviously when you said shelter half, I have one in my garage that I use for Halloween. I stole I think the last one they issued me, I still have. It's down there. I still use it. It still stinks. So it's there.
Exactly. No, I mean, everything we made was out of those shelter halves. At first we didn't want them to be like very military. There was some handbags that were upcycled at the time, and they just like really screamed military. So like from the get-go, we were like, how can we make these look not very military? So we actually hand dyed every single shelter half in like, of all things, a turkey fryer.
Oh, wow.
So like the very beginning phases of a business are not nearly as glamorous as Instagram makes it out to be, but you go through trial and error and find a really great product and really just like storytelling and being able to bridge generations of military is really what gave us a start. And we've just been growing steadily ever since then. My co-founder moved to North Carolina, and her husband was like, you've got to get out of our garage. And so that was our first retail store. And it was really great. We had the sewing machines in our first retail store. It was the only way we could afford it, is if we could justify that we could make sales out of it. And people loved it. Come in and see the handbags actually being assembled right then and there. And then really our business model took off from there, where military spouses then started PCSing, and they became our distributed manufacturing line. So then we started sending parts and pieces across to wherever they moved, and they were able to work when it best fit their lifestyle. Being a mom or spouse first of a military member, and then also a remote riveter. We know that it needs to be flexible, and that they can do it whenever it fits their life. Again, at the kitchen table between car pickup lines, we wanted to be able to find a different work from home opportunity. Back in 2011, there wasn't a whole lot of them.
And obviously now you're storefronted. Where are you based out of now?
So we have our flagship store still is in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, in Southern Pines, and then our production facility is in Florida. I spend a good amount of time here in Ohio, and we also have a retail store here. And then we have remote riveters really across the country. And then we predominantly sell online at ourriveter.com.
Outstanding. And your remote riveters, are they mostly military spouses, or is it a combination?
Yeah, they're all military spouses. The ones that work remotely, the individuals that work for the company aren't necessarily military spouses. We call them riveters as well. They're really the modern day Rosies that, go into a facility every day and really take part in America's economy by producing our products that are assembled here in the U.S. and really carrying that torch from Rosie the Riveter, who at the time it was uncanny for women to wear anything but dresses, but they didn't just stand on the sideline when our country needed her, and went into the factories and made most of the planes and ammunition that helped us win that war. So we really resonated with that mindset and saying, like, we're incredibly proud of our husbands for what they do. They are our heroes, and we wanted to do our part too. And so that's where we said, let's create a business model that employs a very important group of Americans.
That's outstanding. And did either of you have like a sewing background or anything like that before you tried this?
I think both of us learned from our parents or grandparents. My grandma taught me how to sew. My co-founder was way better at it than I was. I got fired very early on in from sewing. One of those 12 handbags that I talked about earlier, I actually sewed one of the pockets upside down on the inside, and we went to one of the local markets that we're selling bags at, and the lady came back the next weekend and she was like, I love my handbag, but it's not very functional with this pocket upside down. And I remember that moment when my co-founder looked at me and said, basically, you're out of the sewing job. So since then, I've been more on the business side and growing it with operations and finance. But it's you have to wear all the hats when you first start a business, and you can't necessarily say that's not for me. So figure it out.
Right. The entrepreneur life is not for everyone, obviously. You have to, like you just said, you have to wear every hat at first. And sometimes you can take one of the hats off, but you still don't want to let go of that grasp until you know it's all going to work out. When did you know that you can let the reins go a little bit and just sit back and kind of run the business side of it?
I think like when you start to surround yourself with people that you can really trust and you can see them taking it on and that they have the level of confidence. I think that's one of the things that you have to learn as an entrepreneur is you're never going to grow if you are not willing to let go of things. And we definitely learned that when we went up to North Carolina, we had the opportunity to go on Shark Tank. So we filmed and went on the show in 2016, and we sold more in one night than we did the whole entire previous year by double. So the amount of scaling and growth that we went through as a small team of military spouses was really unprecedented. And I can say that the only reason we made it through that type of growth was because our customers just really understood what they were buying, that they're buying a handmade product that literally travels across the country and back in order to be put into, a larger system of our community in the military. And they knew that they were going to be waiting 4 to 6 months to get a handbag. And they were just phenomenal about understanding that. And I can say that most of the time when we shipped things earlier than they expected. And I think that they were really excited about that.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's some lessons you've learned that you wish you knew before you got into this?
I think one of the things is to just always be willing to say yes. Like when you're growing a business, you have to be choosy, or you have to go and try things that you normally wouldn't. So when we were deciding about Shark Tank, is this a good thing for us? Is it not? The ultimate answer is if you're trying to grow a business, you need to do it and you need to try for it and just go the distance. But eventually you have to get more strategic. You can get really distracted from, every opportunity that pops up, and you have to say, like, this is my values. This is my mission. Does it align with our future forward goals? And that's where you start to get more strategic and really stay laser focused on what you're trying to accomplish.
Definitely. And how many sleepless nights did you have during the early days? And now I'm hoping you get more sleep now.
Yeah. I think in every phase there's years of waking up. I mean, you have people's jobs on your shoulders, and years of work that rolls up into decisions that you're making. And so those things can either, keep you up about like what's next. But ultimately, it's been an amazing journey that we've been undertaking, as a really close-knit group of military spouses that are participating either as part of our team, or we have other military spouses that we've helped grow their own business and sell their products on our website. And so even with all those sleepless nights and difficulties along the way, it's been an amazing journey to be able to see other people really grow and have the opportunity to be flexible as a military spouse.
And that's one thing that the military spouse has to become, almost like Gumby. For those who don't know, it's a a show from way back in the day when we were kids, but you had to be flexible, very flexible, and things go wrong a lot. Usually when the spouse is gone, that's when everything goes upside down, and that's part of your your learned flexibility. And then throwing a business on top of that, I'm sure things had to go haywire a few times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think like just running a business today is more complex than it's ever been. Just running a multi-state operation from military spouses moving from state to state, and how that can create administrative tasks for a business that normally doesn't deal with that because they're in one state. It's something that we really prioritize, is being able to create that flexibility so that they can move whenever they need to and they don't have to be encumbered by that decision. But it definitely creates an added expense, especially for a small business that's growing. The large corporations are definitely able to more burden those types of things, but that's part of our platform, is really as a company that's really advocating for military spouse employment and really moving the needle on unemployment for military spouses.
And that, I know when I came in and through when I retired, that was a big problem across the board, keeping spouses employed, because they were always felt like they had to start at the bottom.
Right.
Every time they moved, they had to start completely over, find new friend groups, find that new job, and hopefully they can claw their way up. Unless they had tenure in as a GS or a NAF employee, where they can just fall in maybe onto that same position. And that was really rough on many, many spouses, and it led to a lot of problems within the marriages. Right. Having this now, our Riveter helps those spouses have that stability, so they can take it with them, pick it up, and go from Fort Bragg to, say, JBLM, and just continue doing what they were doing. So that adds a lot of that stability. Right.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of what we try and do is provide that second income. I think a lot of families today, military or not, are needing that second income. It's difficult to even afford daycare. So you definitely have to make enough if you're going to go outside of the home to be able to afford those types of things. And I think that a lot of our military spouses that don't have to have daycare because they have the ability to work and have a family too, they also appreciate just the ability to have a little bit of extra spending so that they can do the things that make them happy, especially when their spouse is deployed. It's some of those things that really make the difference between a family wanting to transition out of the military versus staying in, is really just that happy and content family, and making sure that we have the retention in our military. So that's something that we really try to do at our Riveter, is create that community so that the military spouse doesn't necessarily feel like they have to start over at every turn.
And that's a great thing you're doing. And how do you recruit new spouses? Do you just go on base, or they just word of mouth it?
Yeah, it's been word of mouth. After Shark Tank, we had 2,000 military spouses sign up to become a remote Riveter. And honestly, we've never really had to do a post after that. Post 2020, work from home opportunities, I think, really expanded for military spouses. I think just in general, the culture of working from home is not nearly as taboo, and you can really have that remote work opportunity. And so we really shifted and said that where's other ways that we can help military spouses. And ultimately, we think that the ultimate form of flexibility is owning your own business. So now we give grants to be able to help military spouses start their own product-based business and then sell their products on our website. And that's been really rewarding to be able to see many military spouses companies really just start from an idea and be able to grow into a multi-functioning and income opportunity for their families.
Definitely. And like you said, 2020 was a wild year for everybody.
Yeah.
Mr. Uncle COVID came to town and kind of changed the way everyone looks at things. And it
sure did. Yeah.
Kind of really opened the doors to closing down like the big office space, and you can work from the house and do the same job. Why do we need to pay rent on this big office building? And it made everyone say, oh, we can do that. But then, of course, now last year, let's get back in the office, because that's what regular. That's what we need. We need to be regular. But I think there's still a lot, like you said, a lot of people enjoyed that flexibility of being able to work from home, get their job done, and still be there for the kids when they need them, at maybe to be at an award ceremony at school or at a sporting event, and still complete all the tasks for their job.
Right. I think you just get so much more done during the day. I think that you have to be a person that either enjoys working from home or not, or someone that can really focus working from home. So I don't think that it's necessarily for everybody, but we were doing it way before 2020, and we were always like, what are you guys doing? You got kids running around. Like, it was very common for us, and it was actually part of, like a big part of our company culture was to be able to have dependents at home. That lovely word again, but to be able to have individuals that you're caring for at home, and be able to not have to choose between that and being able to make an income for yourself is definitely like at the core and the DNA of our Riveter.
I should have asked this earlier, but before you guys even thought about a business, did either of you have any business schooling or anything like that?
Yeah. So my parents were entrepreneurs. And so I think that sometimes you need to know one to know that it's the right life for you, that it's not 9 to 5, that can be around the clock. And a lot of what my parents instilled in me is really how I still run my business today. My dad actually made me have a QuickBooks account for almost every little thing that I did, whether it was a school fundraiser. So it really said, like, you practice, like you play, you set things up for growth, no matter how small it is. And it's still very much part of what I do today is just making sure that you cross those T's and dot your I's from the beginning. It's not just, like a hobby. You take it seriously from the get-go.
Do you see yourselves expanding even more, or you think you are where you are right now?
No, definitely. We steadily growing year over year. Some of the best parts about what I think our growth has entailed is just a really unprecedented retail experience. We have two stores near military bases, and what we see is just the ability to be able to tell those stories. You walk into our retail store outside of Fort Bragg, and it's a great mix of, kind of a touristic area where people come in and play golf, but then there's also a really amazing group of military there, and come in and talk to our military spouse employees that work at the store. And we just have seen this like really great kind of ability to tell those stories from generations before. One of our lines that we have is called our heirloom line. You can actually bring in your uniform into the store, and then we design a handbag and send it out to you. So that line really has become something that I never really anticipated, which is really just from a healing standpoint, when someone's ready to be able to bring in someone's uniform that they've either lost or even a family member from generations before, and they want to be able to make gifts into it to be able to give to their grandchildren or their kids. It's really an amazing and heartfelt line that we really enjoy.
That's great. Where's the other store? What base is it by?
So the other one's near me here in Ohio. So it's not necessarily near any one base, but there's a lot of Air Force people here. I'm really enjoying having a store near me. We've moved 13 times. So I was like, we're going to finally stay here. And so it's been great to have a retail store near me and be able to share in that, and really meeting all the customers that come in and telling their stories of military and their family.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're able to, after 13 moves, settle down and not
Right.
have to live out of suitcases or boxes that you never know what's in them. So I think we still have boxes in our attic that moved with us every move from 94 until 2010.
Yep, I think we still
They're
do.
still
We have those stickers all over everything, little
Yes.
moving stickers. Like,
And some things have multiple stickers on them, probably.
yep, multiple colors.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I would have done what a lot of people did and put them on an ornament. I thought that was
Yeah.
a really great way of using those stickers and remembering all the different moves you've had.
And just cringing every time you look at it. What did they lose that time?
Exactly, or break.
Please don't break this. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing broken.
Yeah.
Our first time we moved to Fort Campbell, a box of stuff came that wasn't ours. It was like all cleaning supplies, but they didn't deliver a box of our clothes. So it was, I guess, we lost clothes and they lost their cleaning supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it wasn't a win for either one of us. So.
Right. Yeah. No, our first move, we didn't realize how much prep work you should do in like separating things and at least somewhat pre-packing. And I remember opening a box with our toothbrushes and the toilet brush all in one box. So like they really do come through like a tornado and just like literally wrap things. And it's amazing how fast and efficient those packers are.
Yes. Yeah. I think the fastest ones we had when we were in Korea coming back, and I didn't realize that how quick they were until they were already leaving before 2 hours. They were done with everything.
It's
And
unbelievable.
everything made it from there to here. But if I moved from, say, Alabama to here, it wouldn't make it.
It's like, so yeah, it's so true. Things you don't expect.
We got a question from the audience. This is from at Sandy Janai, 23. What inspired the original idea behind our Riveter, and when did you realize it could become a national brand? Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I had just finished my MBA, and a lot of it was about sustainability and just the ideas behind brands and how they grow. And I read a book by Frederick Smith, the founder of FedEx, and he in it was talking about a paper that he wrote in college about how there was really a hub and spoke system and how they would send packages in a complete opposite direction in order to go to a more efficient hub, and how everyone at the time thought it was so inefficient, and it completely revolutionized really just how packages would be shipped, and really is the baseline of how many of us plug into the retail industry today. But I really thought about that idea, and I thought, how could we really utilize an amazing group of Americans as part of our manufacturing line that want to work from home? And so that really instilled this idea that if we just had a product that had a lot of parts and pieces, we could ship them out to military spouses across the country. So even today, we started that line in 2011. It's our signature canvas line. We send the parts and pieces, really liners of the handbag and small leather pieces, to their homes, and they sew the liners to our bags. What's really great about it is that each part, they stamp their Riveter number on. It's a throwback actually to the original Rosie the Riveter that had quality control numbers. And you can go through and find all the individuals that go into making our handbags, from the military spouses at home all the way through to the amazing women in Florida that go into our facility each day and really make that a finalized story, all those parts and pieces coming across the country and then putting them into a finalized handbag. And then from there, it goes out to our retail store where they actually have stamps too, and they stamp the product before it goes out to our customers. So it's really about ownership. I think that military spouses don't want charity, they want opportunity. And I think that as Americans, we are foundationally very thankful for the opportunities that we have. And so it's about owning that opportunity and that job. And that's why I think that it's very symbolic that they stamp every part they make with their Riveter number and really just take ownership of that.
That's outstanding. I like how you bring the history of Rosie into the bags itself and keep that alive as well, to pay homage to the original Rosies back in World War II and to what you have done now to make the new Riveters around the country that are showing and taking that ownership, like you said, on every bag, and everything they touch has their number on it. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I think it's the stories. That's how we learn moving forward, right? Like what to do, sometimes what not to do. It's about telling those stories and keeping them in the forefront for our next generation. We have another line called Limited Edition, and we take uniforms and upcycle them. And it's really about that era of our military and telling that story. We just did a collaboration last year with the Women's Marine Corps, and they have a lot of historic uniforms, and they sent us the uniforms from 7 Women. And it was really amazing to be able to see I think it was how fashion forward some of these uniforms were back in that day, and like how well made they were. And so they made just unbelievably beautiful handbags. But what's more important about it is really just telling those stories and keeping the generations of our military and what they did really at the forefront for our kids that we're raising.
Definitely. And in the years you've done this, is there one bag that's your favorite, or is there a collection that's your favorite?
Well, I think there will always be the bag that we named after Eleanor Otto. She was the longest working Rosie the Riveter. I got to meet her at 102. And I'm telling you, this lady, she had more energy than I did when we were at a gala, and she put me to bed at 2 a.m. I'm like, we've got to go. Like, I am exhausted. But she just had this amazing fiery red hair that met her spirit. And it was really amazing to be able to see just an American icon that she retired at 98. So if I have like a small amount of that energy, even 10 years from now, I'll be happy. But was definitely a bucket list moment for me to be able to meet such an amazing woman.
It's definitely a different work ethic from their generation to generations now to
Right.
work until 98
Yep.
and through the hardest times too. They worked
Yeah, and I think she was forced to retire. I think they said you've got to retire at this point. So
leaves.
yeah, please retire. So it was really amazing to be able to meet her. And so we name all of our handbags after inspiring women in America's history. And so actually all of month of March, we were highlighting those women and doing a discount on those items just to be able to better tell those stories and highlight really these amazing women that have done a lot for us.
Definitely. And I know when my wife looks at the site, she'll want to buy something because she's like Imelda Marcos with the shoes and bags and stuff.
Right.
So we'll get one of those somewhere in there. I was looking at your site. I seen scratch and dent sale, and for me, being a knucklehead guy, I'm thinking, how do you scratch and dent a bag? But I have to ask the question: how do you scratch and dent a bag?
I know it's the funniest thing. I don't know how that name came about. I think that it was like in our first or second year of the business. My co-founder said it, and I'm like, that makes no sense. Why are we naming it after that? But it stuck. So now, like, because everybody knows what it is, like I can't rename the sale. But it's the most amazing sale. People wait all year long for it. I think that it's it means a lot to me to be able to sustain things that are maybe not necessarily perfect. I think that throughout life, we have this idea of what we want life to be, and sometimes when we feel like we need to alter from it, it's failure, and it's just not. It's about pivoting and staying nimble and being flexible, just as you were talking about earlier. And so this line, when we do our scratch and dent sale every year, I think it's very symbolic that maybe it's not exactly perfect, but it's perfectly imperfect. And it's a great opportunity to, try a different handbag that you normally maybe wouldn't try because it's bigger or smaller. But all the handbags on our website give back to military spouses in one way or another, whether it's the military spouse that's making parts and pieces, or it's a grant that we're able to provide for one of them starting their own business. But great timing because our scratch and dent sale is running right now.
Yeah, it's the first thing I've seen on the website today when I looked at it. So I don't think that was there when we first booked. I don't think I've seen it there.
Yeah, just launched this morning.
So there it is, right in my face.
Yeah.
So you added another question for me. So that's amazing. We do have another question from the audience in here.
Great.
Hurl the Love. What was the biggest leadership challenge in building a distributed workforce made up largely of military spouses? Thank you, Hurl.
Yeah, so there's an operational side of this and a leadership side. I think that the operational side is that it's very difficult to have parts and pieces across the country. We were told for years by consultants that this will never work, that from a profit margin standpoint, you should only produce in one spot, and it probably shouldn't be in the United States because it's going to be too expensive. But we said, watch us. And it's a big part of, still our identity today is being able to send those parts to the military spouses across the country. But it is a 3-tiered chess game because you've got parts and pieces that have to be made and folded into the rest of your operations. So it is a big leadership challenge just from the standpoint of on-time delivery, making sure that you don't put too much inventory into a work in process. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And that was definitely very difficult to kind of work through over the years, especially when we started. We made everything out of recycled military materials. And some of the lessons that we had to learn from the military spouses was, this is clunky, this is dirty materials. We don't want this in our houses. So that's where we're like, okay, you're right. Let's get new canvas that's inspired off of the military materials. And so now we have our washed canvas line that is our number one seller. But then there's also the leadership side of, having a lot of different individuals that are plugging in maybe part-time or a quarter time. And that's, I think, something that other people kind of have found post-COVID is that, you're not going into an office where you're always on the same page and you're not showing up at 8 and leaving at 5. And so that's a really difficult part of the leadership. But my advice to that is you just really have to build your culture around that and understand that people are plugging in, maybe not exactly when you want them to, but as long as they're able to get their expected work done, that it can actually really build the company rather than, hinder it.
You just said the military materials were dirty or raggedy. Did that let you understand what military grade really was at that point?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't think that they wanted to wash it in the same washing machines that their family does. So when we do it in our facility, we just have a completely different washer and dryer for it. But I can definitely see what you guys dealt with, which is like my husband called his ACUs the napkin. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like
the absorption.
Yeah.
It's disgusting and great.
Yeah.
But now whenever I see a commercial that says it's military grade, I just steer away from it because I don't want it. I know what that means. So it kind of gives me that cringy moment. I don't want to have anything to do with you or your military grade equipment at that point.
Right.
What's your favorite material on your bags? Is it canvas or is there a leather bound or anything like that?
From the get-go, we started with this like really amazing combination of canvas and leather, and there's not a lot of handbags in the market that do that combination. And I think what we found is this balance between dressing up and also being able to be casual enough to be able to take your handbag everywhere. We're not frilly, and we want to be able to have a very utilitarian handbag that you can dress up and take to a night for dinner, but you can also take it and to the park with your kids, and you can be very flexible with it. And I think that that's what the leather and canvas combo really does for us.
I think I don't carry a handbag, but they look sharp. So and I'm sure. I mean, obviously they sell. Obviously the model is working, and you're basically nationwide, worldwide with the interwebs. So that's awesome. And what's the furthest? I guess the most obscure country that you've been able to ship to?
Gosh. We don't get a lot of out of country. I think we're just very, very American. So we get some like APOs a lot all the time. So that's kind of neat to see. And really like I still people that know me, like, you own a handbag company, a fashion company, because I'm just not that girl. But it's so much more than that. And I've had so many people that come and work for me and say, I never thought I would work for a handbag company. But really it's about so much more than handbags. But the reason why we chose handbags was because it really can carry the weight of such a story. Clothing you switch out day in and day out, but you choose a handbag really to help you with whatever your life's mission is. I think one of my husband doesn't carry a handbag either, but I did. He had his lucky pair of ACUs that he always wore whenever he needed to go on a particular mission. And when he transitioned out, he's like, well, I guess I can throw all this away. And I was like, nope, we're going to keep that one. And so I made him a Dop kit that he actually still travels with today in his professional career post the military. And so I feel like it still helps him in his day with whatever he needs to have luck for. And it's great to be able to take those materials that we kind of have a connection to. I think we all have a connection to materials in one way or another because they are connected to memories. And so being able to keep them, out of the attic in a trunk and out telling those stories is really what we do best.
And not just rotting in those attics or trunks and with mothballs
Moth.
on it, smelling horrible.
Smelling horrible. Yeah, exactly.
Repurposed and usable.
Yeah.
Maybe a Joey bag is what I'll get. Because Joey had a satchel. I can wear that. I can.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Merce.
That's a good thing for us. Merce. Yes. We got one more here from the gallery. So at Be the Force, how do you maintain mission and culture while scaling a fast growing business? Thank you for that question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Because we're a mission-based company, I think that a lot of people find us because they care so much about what we do. And a lot of times they're military spouses that understand how difficult it is to find a job and be able to keep that. And so really keeping the mission has always been something that has been just at the core. And I think that also hardship brings people together, and growing a company in a very ever-changing and complex market has, brought our team together. Over the last 2 years, we've had a lot of hardship where we moved into a building and it was structurally unsound, and they were doing construction around us, and it was just one thing after another. But I think that what really matters in the end is that your team really pulls together, and it's those things that pull us and the company together, is really just sort of getting through and keeping the mission at the forefront, and that's what gets us through. I think that there's like a statistic out there that woman-owned businesses, only 2% make it past $2 million.
Wow.
And then I think that it's other statistics out there about most businesses fail after 5 years. So the fact that we've been around for 15 is really just a testament to the team and some of the things that we've traversed over the years. Really just comes down to the fact that we've put mission at the center of our culture.
And I think that your focus on the brand and the success of all of your riveters is what's really helping you to move forward. Now, like you said, 15 years later, and most businesses, like you said, also, they don't make it past that 5-year mark. If they make it past the 1-year mark, especially the restaurant business, usually it's about the 1 to 2 year mark where they start to implode or just don't love it no more. They got into something and thought they would love it, it doesn't work, and then they hate going to restaurants after that. So.
Right.
But you
And I
obviously
think
love
you absolutely have to love it. Like it's a lot of sleepless nights, like you talked about. And there's just like moments throughout, the days and months as they span, and it just really renews your energy towards it. Just last week I was at a military conference, and for business leaders that are military connected, and a gal came up to me and said, you were entirely the reason why my company still exists today. And it's like those moments are like, okay, this is why we do this. This is why we get through the hard things, is to be able to just be even a small light in somebody's life. And so I think businesses that are not solving a problem, or that they're not, really just energized by what they do every day, it's harder to make it through the difficulties, for sure.
And once you lose that drive, it's hard to get it back.
Right.
And have that focus. So it's good. I like that you said you go to those conferences and are able to share your lessons and share your journey with other entrepreneurial people who are trying to get into business, or maybe scale their business as well. And where do you do those conferences at? Are all across the country?
Yeah, they're all across the country. And, I share a lot of my experiences, but I learn a lot too. A lot of times they're in completely different industries than I'm in. And so they have a lot of things that they can share and just lessons. And I think some of the best parts about these conferences are just the fact that there are other military connected businesses. And, even if you are in the same industry, it's not like it's competitive. It's just, I think there's something very special about our military community. And I think that it is really based in perspective and how, like, you've seen what really matters, and you've seen, why we do what we do. And so being able to combine those two things, what the military experience that we've had and how it shaped who we are today, along with growing a business, really makes it a very special and impactful, just conversations that you can deep dive into.
Definitely. And like for us here at Misfit Nation, we started this just to share the stories of our brothers and sisters, to maybe keep them with us a little longer with the epidemic of losing 22 a day. And it turned into something where we share stories like your story and all these other people that went through in the fire and shown that resilience to get through the hard times, to be successful. And our mantra is, if for every episode, if we reach one, we teach one, and that's a success for us. If every episode we help one person have a better day, or have one person have a more successful day, then we're a success ourselves. So I think it helps, like you said, when you go to those conferences and someone comes up to you and says, thank you, I'm sure that lifts your heart up and say, all my hard work is paying off just by this.
Great. Absolutely. I think I remember very early on, when my husband was deployed, I just had this tremendous fear of the doorbell and like what would be on the other side of it. And, just one small thing that we could do through our business model was to be able to have a package of opportunity show up at their door, rather than it be something based in fear. And so I think that you're absolutely right. It's about like every small step we make, not every 10 years from now or large goal ahead of us. It's really just one small step, and how each of those combine into everyone working together to be able to keep our community strong.
Exactly. And while we were talking, we got 2 more questions from the audience popped in, and we'll hit them, and then we'll start wrapping up here.
Great.
Good name here looks like at Kelly Dangit. What advice would you give military spouses or veterans who want to start their own business? Thank you, Kelly Dangit.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I think that it really just starts again about like not setting expectations to be so grandeur. Like you don't have to start out and have a multi-million-dollar company. Like just start out one step in front of the other and like proof of concept. And really just not setting those particular like goals so far out that you feel like if you have to pivot, it's failure. I can say that as an entrepreneur, I've failed so many times to everyone else's vocabulary, but to me, there were just a lot of pivots along the way. I don't even have failure in my vocabulary, even though like to everybody else, it's probably what it is. But I just had to keep changing the model or changing what I was trying to do in order to get it to fit either my family's life or where we were moving or all the different things that kind of come up and make you have to pivot. So just stay nimble and definitely can find something that's mission driven. I think we're as connected to the military. We're obviously very, very driven by service and having a core to something. So make sure that when you're deciding what that's going to be, have it connected to something that like really matters to you. And that's what's going to get you through the difficulties of running your own business.
Great answer. Great answer there. This one here is from Sherm U. Looking ahead, what is your vision for the future of Riveter and mission-driven entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So our vision has been to really grow our retail stores. I just love the ability to have a physical place where people are able to go in and be able to share those military stories and be able to see the history of the military on our walls and be able to just share in that. What I love about it is it continues to employ military spouses near military bases, in a world where we're all looking down at our phones. And now with AI, we're just becoming and will become so further disconnected as humans. And so I can really see how, for me at our Riveter, starting from that human connection and working our way back from that, and eventually being able to open up retail stores for franchises for military connected families to be able to own those retail stores is ultimately where I would love to see the company reach.
That's amazing. Audience of Misfit Nation, thank you for sending in your questions tonight. They were real good ones again, as usual. So we appreciate that. And I'm sure Lisa appreciated good questions, better ones than I was asking. So thank you.
No, I loved it. Yeah.
Lisa, I told you we'll start wrapping up after this. What's the best way for someone to get in contact with you to either have you on their show or maybe just pick your brain?
Yeah. So reach out to us on social media. I think is probably the best way. Like from that, you're able to connect into another community of military spouses specifically and all the things that we're up to. But to specifically get a hold of me, like I'm always on social media. So just direct message me there. And our website's also a really great resource for the grants that we give out for military spouses starting and growing their own product-based business. So you can go there and apply there. And then again, the scratch and dent sale is going on right now, which is great timing because it only happens once a year. So.
And there's the website right there on the screen. I've been sharing it in the chat as we were talking. So make sure you go there, get you a bag or get involved. Get involved is probably even better so you can see the success and maybe you can find that success as well.
Yeah, there's also an affiliate program, which I think is a great way to make a little bit of extra income just because sometimes when we share links and just talk about our lives as in the military, it's a great opportunity that anybody that buys, a handbag through that link, military spouses are the only ones that get a 15% commission. So if you're military affiliated, it's a great opportunity to share our mission, tell military stories, and to stay connected as a community.
Outstanding. And I just showed the affiliate page as Lisa was sharing it. It's very detailed. Yeah, just go to riveter.com and then go under our mission. Then affiliates program is right below there.
Yeah, it's my mission to have a whole bunch of micro influencers that were never intended to be influencers, but they're doing amazing things by, talking about their military connected families. So that's who I want on our affiliate program.
And my final question is, what's 3 things the Misfit Nation, the audience, can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
Yeah. 3 things. I think attitude is everything. I think just waking up each day and deciding that you're going to have a positive attitude that day, no matter what's going on. I think that type of thing just spreads. If you handle a problem with grace, it just spreads. I see it every day with my team. I think just like being proud to be American, no matter what side you fall on politically. I just remember growing up and just being incredibly proud to be an American, and I don't think that should ever change. And lastly, just like continuing to reach out to your community and letting them know that you're there. I think as a military spouse that's since moved on and I'm no longer active duty, it was really hard to transition out and no longer have that Insta friend. And so, if you can just reach out to somebody in your past life, and even if it's just a text or, a quick connection, it can make a huge difference in their day.
Outstanding. Lisa, thank you again for coming on and sharing the story of our Riveter and everything you've done from the attic to now, 15 years of pushing it forward and doing great things. So thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Misfit Nation, remember, tomorrow it'll be 100% better with you in it than without you. If you're thinking about making that permanent solution to a temporary problem, just stop. Reach in your wallet, pick out that 1-inch piece of paper, and look at those 3 names you have written on there and give them a call. They want to hear from you today, tomorrow, and the next day. If you're afraid to call them, you're embarrassed, dial 988 and follow the prompts. You can take option 1 if you're a veteran. If you're not, follow the prompts. Get the help you need. If you don't want to do those, contact us at the Misfit Nation. info@themisfitnation.com, Steven@themisfitnation.com, or Jake@themisfitnation.com. We will help you. We will keep you on the line until someone who is actually trained to do those things can help you and do the right things for you. Till next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling. And have a good night.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.
Two kinds of phishing out here. One for fish, one for your data. Hackers try to hook you, but Cisco Duo keeps every user and device protected. Cisco Duo. Phishing season is over. Learn more at duo.com.